Hey, I'm Mike Eldred from the Fender Custom Shop, and I'm here with Denis Galuska, one of our master builders. And Denis has built guitars for just about everybody out there and knows a thing or two about what it takes to build a really nice guitar. And so today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about radiuses, neck radiuses. In the custom shop, we have so many different radii, I guess you would call it, and we'll do anything you'd like. I mean, we'll do custom radiuses for you if you want, or compound radius. And so I think it's one of the features on a guitar that kind of people like pick from and stuff, and they really don't really know why a 12-inch radius. What's the difference between a 12-inch radius and a 7 1/4 radius? And so I want to talk a little bit about that. When you build a guitar for a customer, they usually specify the radius. Is that correct?
Most of the time. Just quickly, just to clarify what the radius is, we're talking about the curvature of the board. There's different inches. If you took a 12-inch circle, you'd have a 12-inch radius, so on and so forth. Most of the time, customers know exactly what they want, but sometimes they need to be nudged or prodded a little bit to kind of help them along, and that's exclusively based on their playing style.
So let's talk about some of the radiuses. What's a compound radius? We hear that a lot. A lot of people are talking about a compound radius. Explain to everybody what a compound radius is.
Compound radius is if you had a cone. Maybe you went from 7 1/4 at the cone up to 16 inches down at the bottom of the cone, right? So you got a picture of a road cone on there. And what that does is it gives you a little more comfort up here for the open chords, and it gives it a little flatter here so you can bend a lot further for all you heavy metal guys out there, is in a nutshell what that is.
So the radius, just so everybody knows, like a 7 1/4 is kind of like a normal Fender radius. And if you took your hand and you just held your hand, to your side, you would see that there's a radius, a natural radius on that finger, and that's really why what Denis is saying, where it feels comfortable. Because you're doing chords up here or whatever, it just feels comfortable up here. If you have a flatter radius up there, you're really much more into almost like a classical guitar that has a flat radius on the thing, right?
Yeah, there's less comfort involved in that, I think.
Yeah, and then when you bend and you have that flatter radius down here and you bend a note, the string is going straight and this is curved. So at some point, these two are going to interact. There is going to be some, thing. And so what a flatter radius down here is it allows you, like Denis was saying, to bend higher without having the neck fret out, and you get a nice lower action, right? Makes sense?
Yeah, your note will choke out is what he means by fretting out. The note will go away.
So do you get specific requests for like when you build a guitar for an artist, does a guy say, hey, I want a 9 1/2-inch radius, or I want a 7 1/4 radius? Do they specify, or do they kind of leave it alone?
No, most guys will specify. They know what they like. If someone's very into vintage guitars, they're going to stick with the 7 1/4 because that's what they're used to. And even with our 7 1/4s on the Masterbuilt level especially, you're going to be able to bend this thing pretty darn far because we're able to spend a lot of time leveling the frets and make them really, really sweet. Some guys like the 9 1/2, which is kind of the marriage. It's still pretty curvy, but you can bend a little further with it. 12 is when you're getting into other manufacturers where they're a little flatter and you can bend even further. Then you get into Jackson land and stuff where they're like 16-inch, right. And man, you could basically the string isn't going to get to the top of the hill, and it's just going to keep going.
And then let's talk about frets a little bit. These two necks here, I know it's hard to see with the cameras and that stuff. These two necks here have different frets on them. These we think are I think these are 6105s.
Those look like 6105s.
And then these are probably 6100s. They're a little wider. So tell me a little bit the difference of the frets. And then we don't have them here, but like a vintage Fender fret is smaller than a 6105, but the same width.
Right.
So what about that? What's the difference with frets?
Frets, when you get a bigger fret, it's usually for a player with a much lighter touch. He doesn't want to touch wood. If you're ham-fisted like me and you squeeze it, a vintage fret is probably a little better for you because you won't squeeze the note sharp. As you push down on there, it's going to sink deeper and go sharper. If you've got a very light touch, you're a shredder, go with a big fret. It's the closest thing you'll get to a scallop fingerboard. You just don't want to touch any wood when you're in between there. Tonally, that does play in, because you're just getting pure metal to metal, and string to fret is what I mean by metal to metal, and it's a little chimier, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. And then the thing that I like about it, just because I'm just cheap, is that when on a neck with 6105s on it, you have a little bit more, I guess, life out of the fret job, and instead of, you can level and dress it. If you wear through the frets, then you can level and dress it a couple more times before you have to refret it. So that's just a thing for me, but even though I don't pay for it anymore.
Absolutely valid point, but from the guitar builder, I'm not really worried about that. I just wanted to get to you fresh.
Right.
What you do with it later is your problem.